Hi guys, and thank you so much for joining me. If you are new to my channel, I'm Kat and I like to talk about true crime, conspiracies and all sorts of related things. In today's video I want to talk to you about one of Romania's most dangerous criminals, the Black Widow. But before we get started, just a quick disclaimer. I don't mean to be disrespectful to anyone I talk about in the video. All the information I'm giving you are already found in the public domain. Thank you. Vera Renczi, also nicknamed the Black Widow, wanted to be the last woman in the life of 35 men. Born in the last years of La Belle Epoque, Vera Renczi looks more like a Hollywood movie character than the daughter of a Hungarian bourgeois and a small noblewoman from Transylvania. Sexual orgies, murders, betrayals, mystery, and a young woman of captivating beauty are ingredients for an internationally successful novel or film. However, the history of Romanian forensics considers Vera not only a woman who really existed, but one of the most prolific serial killers in the history of Romania. Vera Renczi's life has been shrouded in mystery since she was born. The year 1903 is credited by many authors as the one in which the future criminal was born. However, the chronology of events suggests that most likely Vera saw the light of day for the first time at the end of the 19th century in Bucharest, the capital city of Romania. The second missing puzzle piece is the real last name, as Renczi is the name of the second husband. Vera's father is known to have been a businessman from present-day Hungary, and his mother is either a woman of small Hungarian nobility from Transylvania or a beautiful Romanian woman. The third missing piece is the appearance of this fatal woman. Although she's considered the greatest murderer in the history of Romania, there is no picture or description of her collectively accepted by historians. Some sources claim that she was a blonde beauty, while others accredit the idea that the last image of her with lovers was a brunette. But everyone agrees that her beauty is impossible to ignore. Vera spent the first 13 years of her life in Romania, where she received maternal attention and protection. Things changed radically, however, after her mother passed away and her father decided to move her to his mansion in Bucharest, a town in the Serbian Banat and now called Zrenjanin. I apologize for the pronunciation. This is not a Romanian name, so I think it's a Serbian name, so I'm quite struggling to pronounce it. Out of paternal supervision, as her father was always on business in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the teenage Vera begins to discover carnal pleasures. A student of a local girls' school, the future criminal shocks the whole community with the sexual scandals she provokes and in which pupils, students, married men, and even her father's business colleagues are involved. The degree of depravity of the underage Vera is so high that more than once she was caught by the supervisors in the student's bed in the dormitory. According to reports, even from this phase, there is a sickly possessiveness of Vera who wants her lovers to spend all their time with her. That's why her adventures ended with episodes of hysteria and scenes of jealousy. The young woman completely changes her attitude when she meets Karl Schick, an influential Austrian banker 20 years older than her. Vera and Karl decide to get married and they even have a boy named Lorenzo. Again, according to various sources, they were married, some say between a few months and others say between a few years. During this period, Vera actually turns into a model wife and a model mother at that. She gives up on any love affairs, but not on jealousy. Karl's busy schedule makes Vera suspect him of having a mistress. The suspicion was fatal for the man, who suddenly disappears, just vanishes into thin air. Later, Vera tells authorities he died in a car accident in Bucharest, after he had previously left her. Even though no one found Karl's body, Vera has been in mourning for 1 year. After the period of mourning ended for her, she goes back into the Viennese society, where she meets Joseph Renczi, a conqueror much closer to her in age and extremely rich. It was just a hope for the second marriage, the late Karl Schick, an unimportant issue in the eyes of the authorities, for whom the status of a woman in the high society like Vera takes precedence over the evidence and issues her a death certificate based only on the story of the accident in Bucharest. So basically the authorities believe that her husband died in a car accident just because of her being in the high society. That tells you a lot of things about the police in that age. The marriage with Renczi is full of man's infidelities and hysteria, scenes of jealousy and even death threats from Vera. All this ends abruptly when Joseph falls sick, dying of an unknown disease. Now, at this point, Vera, she seems to forget all the humiliations that she suffered and takes care of him with unexpected devotion. However, this doesn't help Renczi much, who disappears from the landscape just like her first husband. This time too, the authorities, they don't even bother to question the widowed wife for the second time, so she just goes on with her life. Young, extremely beautiful, and rotten rich after 2 marriages, Vera gives up getting married. Instead, she attracts men who are eager for sex from Vienna's aristocracy to her parents' mansion in Belle Epoque. For 10 years, over 30 men made this one-way ticket trip, and their number would certainly have been higher if Vera wouldn't get involved with a married man named Milorad. The Serbian banker, 20 years older than her, shared the fate of his predecessors. Only his wife did not want to give up without finding out what really happened. The first information brings the authorities to the door of the Belle Epoque mansion, where they have the first surprise. Vera answered them calmly with the reply, "I knew you would come to visit me, gentlemen." Given that no one even accused her of anything, she acknowledges her relationship with Milorad, but claims that she broke up with him as soon as she found out he was married. The decision, Vera claims, would have made him commit suicide. Not happy with the information found by the police, Milorad's wife starts an investigation on her own. The discovery of a love note from Vera in her husband's clothes, but also because Vera's husband and son disappeared just as mysteriously, gives the woman the opportunity to put new pressure on the Serbian authorities. On the second visit of the police, Vera denies that she even had a relationship with the banker, but confronted with the ticket and her own statement, she gives in nervously and explains hysterically, to the astonishment of the authorities, "I am not a criminal." Her nervous breakdown leads to the search of the entire mansion, including the crypt. Here, in the crypt, in front of the eyes of the authorities, a show worthy of horror movies is revealed. 35 zinc coffins placed in a circle, and in the middle an armchair and a table on which there's a candlestick with candles, a bottle of champagne and a cup. On each coffin was placed a label with the name of the occupant written on. In this room, Vera came whenever she felt the need to shut up and talk to the ghosts of her ex-boyfriends. She then confesses in the semi-dark crypt, lit only by a few candles. The review of the coffins and the characterization of each victim ends in front of the 12th coffin, where Vera collapses in pain. It was the coffin of Lorenzo, her 10-year-old child she had killed after the boy found out about his mother's dark secret. All her victims have been poisoned with arsenic, but 2 men received special treatment. Milorad also received strychnine to die sooner, which is essentially a pesticide, and Joseph Renczi, her second husband, was imprisoned in a coffin while he was still breathing. The woman's explanation was as hallucinatory as the behavior. She wanted to be the last woman in the men's lives. I think Vera used zinc coffins to protect herself from potential arsenic poisoning from her victims. Or maybe because in those times zinc coffins were quite popular, especially in the upper classes, as they don't really rust. I think that this goes to show that it all probably stemmed from when she lost her mom, when her mom died, and then also being with her dad, but her dad was always on business trips. So I think that she actually missed that father figure in her life, and that's why she did what she did to this man, and that's why if she can't have them, nobody else will. The end of Vera Renczi was predictable. Sentenced to death, her sentence was commuted to life imprisonment, as women could not be executed under Yugoslav law. In prison, her psychic gave way, and witnesses say she thought she was surrounded by everyone she killed and talked to them for hours. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, Vera was hospitalized in a hospice where she died of a cerebral bleeding in 1960 in Serbia. And this is the story of the most prolific serial killer of Romania. Please let me know, guys, what you think in the comments below, if you've ever heard of this case or if you ever knew that Vera Renczi was actually from Romania. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!